Welcome to What's Best Forum's Masters and Makers interview series. Today we are speaking with Lukasz Fikus, founder of LampizatOr. Good evening there, Lukasz.
Hi, good morning to you.
Today we're going to discuss primarily your new Poseidon line of components. Briefly tell us, what is the genesis of the Poseidon DAC, given that it is at a similar price point to the Pacific II?
The main driver behind this was the success of Horizon. It was far bigger success than we expected, and we saw a great potential for this type of product and this type of sound and this type of approach. It was a new approach compared to our previous DACs, but it is obviously, as a flagship, it is very expensive. And it's not expensive because we like it to be expensive, but because we use Excel to calculate the price and put in the price every component that really affects our business. So if our business needs to do research, development, and losing money on wasted, let's say, prototypes, it has to be also calculated. So the Horizon costs a lot of money, and we didn't want to make a cheaper Horizon. It is impossible. And we didn't want to discount the Horizon. It's also impossible. Horizon is what it is. It's a flagship with a lot of insanely expensive and difficult to make choices and solutions. In order to give this kind of product to people who are really eager but don't have the kind of budget needed for Horizon, I decided to make something for less money without making it a cheaper Horizon, because it is not so easy. I mean, it would be easy, but it's not done this way, to cut corners and take the Horizon and strip it off its beautiful parts and beautiful solutions, because then it wouldn't be really a very good DAC. So our ambitious plan was to build from scratch something that wouldn't necessarily cost so much, but it could have the maximum of the beauty and the maximum of the enjoyment that Horizon brings to the people. And this is how we laid out this request for R&D. So every member of our team knew where we're going and what budget they can have, and if we split the R&D between people who make the chassis and people who make digital PCB and the engine, and people who create the transformers and the finish of the product. So everybody knew that there will be restrictions, especially because with Horizon we told them you have no restrictions, just go crazy and make the best in the world. Here it was not so easy, so squeezing was a good lesson for us, and I think we managed to achieve that goal, because I love Poseidon. I love the way it sounds, and I love the fact that it will be accessible to more people.
I understand from Fred Ainsley that you're going to be making around up to 25 more Pacific IIs, and after that, you will only upgrade Pacifics to Pacific IIs, but you will not make any more ground-up Pacific IIs. So does that mean you will no longer be making a DHT DAC?
The existence of DHT DACs is threatened by the difficult accessibility to tubes, especially new, reliable, high-quality DHT triodes. And the destruction to our business is so enormous that basically half of our company does nothing but chasing tubes and testing them and making sure that we can sell DHT DACs. So I understand the love for DHT, and we've been supplying people with this crazy DHT design for almost 10 years now, and there are thousands of them in the field. So I guess we've done our best, I would say. And we are trying to make the Poseidon sound as close to DHT as possible without using actual DHT.
What?
Well, you mentioned that we will see Pacific after 25. I must say we have stock of components for 25 more. Maybe it's 22, maybe 27, doesn't matter. It's a number of transformers, chassis, front plates, top plates, and tube sets. Without ordering more parts, we would not be able to make more Pacifics or Golden Gates. If people love Poseidon, there will be no need. If people still need it, we will consider something like a Pacific tree and maybe sit down and make a new chassis and a new solution, something that will be more easily manageable.
To your ears, how does the Poseidon DAC sound different than the Horizon DAC?
Quite easy on one hand, because I listen to both of them every day. Like I alternate. One of my jobs in the business is giving the final listening approval before shipping. So I have a system, I have a listening room, I close the doors, and I sit and listen to for a 1 or 2 hours to 1 or 2 horizons. And then I switch to the Poseidon because we already made a few of them. And I must tell you, it should be very easy to name these differences. It's not so easy because they are very subtle. As with high end, the whole magic is in the subtle nuances that differentiate between hi-fi and high-end, and then between ecstasy. So with Horizon, I'm in ecstasy every time I listen, because it does exactly what I love about listening. The Poseidon is absolutely fantastic, but I can tell the difference. There is 10% less of ecstasy, if I may say so, even though all the other parameters are there. I mean, the bass is even probably maybe touch better with Poseidon, and all the extension and the user-friendly features, they are there. But there is this something that took us almost 1 year to go from very good to phenomenal with Horizon.
Well, how would you unpack, how would you explain to us that 10% difference in ecstasy? What does that 10% difference mean to you? How do you hear things differently for that 10% difference in ecstasy?
Well, my goal with listening to the music is not to dance, and it's not to, I don't know, do air guitaring, let's say. People do all different things when listening to the music, or have a background music. My goal is to sit, try to close my eyes, or not, if not necessary, if it's a dark room, and then as quickly as possible, try to imagine the hallucination of being in the recording, be it a live recording or a studio, or being among musicians, and being captured by because they're speaking to me. They are speaking through notes, not words, but they are trying to sell me or give me a hint of their emotions, whatever they might be. Like with every type of art, is the emotion going directly to my subconscious understanding of these emotions without verbalizing them. Horizon gives it to me very quickly. I close my eyes, I count to 3, and I'm there, and I'm gone. It is a process of forgetting about the world around me very, very quickly. Let's say it takes me 3 seconds with Horizon, and it takes me 20 seconds with Poseidon. I still get there, but I need to focus longer, and I need to be in a quiet mode, and I try a little harder.
What I hear you saying, frankly, is there's just it sounds substantially the same, but somehow there's just a touch more emotional engagement that you can achieve a bit more quickly with the Horizon. But so I'm not hearing you say that there's a tiny difference in transparency, or there's a tiny difference in natural texture of instruments. It's nothing specific, is that it's just more a little bit difference in rapidity of emotional engagement? I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, it's engagement. It's also the 3-dimensional sensation of space, because these stereophonic recordings, even though they have 2 channels, they have something like 3-dimensional depth, and also a hint of height in every recording. And sometimes in the best recordings, you have a possibility to at least believe that there are sounds coming from behind you, and something is happening, that you are inside the cloud. And within that cloud, without being analytical, you can still tell like position of each instrument or each performer, where they stand, how they breathe. So you are kind of like not only hearing them, but seeing them in a way. And it's with Horizon, this is absolutely perfect. And with Poseidon does that trick, but not in such spectacular way. Where the price difference is another story, but to some people, any difference is priceless.
How would you describe the differences in sound you hear between the Poseidon and the Pacific?
The Pacific 2 which is equipped with the same engine 11P as the Poseidon, the beauty of sound is very, very similar. I would say that DHT, which we use in the Pacific, give us two factors. One is maybe slightly more beautiful sound because they are DHT and quite exotic ones that we choose. But at the same time, they give us some problems associated with DHT. Like they can be, if you tap on the tube, they can be slightly microphonic. If you put your ear to the speaker, they may be slightly humming because this is the nature of directly heated tube. The heater AC signals go through the cathode, and you can always hear. They are like living creatures. They don't behave like super neutral electronic components. So some people cannot live with that, and they go for a solid state. And people who love DHT, they will sometimes, turn the blind eye on the negative technical difficulties associated with them. Poseidon doesn't have that at all. There is no microphonics, no humming, no there is no hint that you are listening through tubes. Also, in terms of technical parameters of signal, DHT have high output impedance, which Poseidon doesn't have. They have limited loudness, which this one doesn't have, and they have limited bass response, which Poseidon doesn't have. So Poseidon is much more perfect at the cost of being less emotionally engaging, so to speak. So probably if you could blend the beauty of the Pacific 2 and the technical perfection of Poseidon, you would have Horizon.
Focusing on the preamp circuits, do you feel that the preamp in the Poseidon is now actually better sounding than the preamp in the Horizon?
The analog preamp in the Poseidon is much better than any other preamp we ever made. And for that matter, anyone that I ever tried, that I was able to buy or use before. We thought that it's too good to be true and too good to just ignore it and not tell people that you are getting, in fact, not only a very good DAC, but you're getting an extremely good preamplifier. I mean, it is in another league compared to any other preamp section in any other DAC that I built. So that's why we decided to offer it also as standalone line stage. If any people have a need for a preamp, they can buy the line stage, but they will be much better off for similar price. Let's be honest, the price will be quite similar to buy the DAC, because the DAC will have analog inputs as well. And so if you have a line stage, you can sell it and make money. Or if your line stage is not so fantastic, you will have a much better line stage. One way or another, using this as a line stage is much better idea than using the Poseidon DAC with external other line stage, because I would have to hear a line stage that sounds better.
What is the volume control that you're using in the Poseidon line stage?
Well, we use external specialist who is located in Poland, and they are very famous for making very good step resistor ladders. These ladders use as a 7-bit binary relay coding that these relays choose resistors to blend them in a pair, which gives so-called LPAT, which means attenuation. So when you listen in your attenuation circuit, you have only 2 resistors chosen by the microprocessor, which drives the relays. So it's as pure as possible. You don't go through any potentiometer. There is nothing to be worn after 1 million uses, nothing to be worn after 10 years. They just run forever because there is no mechanical parts involved.
So it's not a discrete step potentiometer where you're rotating through different resistors.
Absolutely. No,
it's actually relay selected resistors.
Yes, relay selected resistors. And these resistors are of high quality and high precision, which is on 1 order of magnitude times better than any potentiometer, or for that matter, any rotary system. And they never, for example, like with the rotary switching resistor systems, you have this noise because the contacts are never
Right.
moving smoothly, and they always give you some hint of like jumping from one position to another, and they have only 24 positions. We have 64 positions.
How are you adjusting channel balance in the line stage?
We don't have the feature of changing the balance from equal. So it's always equal balance left and right. If there is something wrong with your system, you should not probably you should not fix it by changing the balance. And I've never heard a recording that has a wrong balance needing fixing, unless it's my private recording made on a tape recorder. And if your speakers are skewed or a room is crooked, I don't think it's a good idea to change the volume of one channel. But the complication that I would have to give to everybody who doesn't really need it would be not worth it, because it's a sacrifice of quality, the possibility to change this balance. So our balance control always runs exactly at the center with the accuracy of 0.1%.
On the line stage, why do you believe that a high input impedance facing the sources sounds better?
The output impedance of any source, let's say a tape deck, will be calculated or designed to work with a certain impedance, and then they together create a sort of a high pass filter. So we are losing, let's say, the bass, and with the bass is a sense of space, sense of 3 dimensions, sense of depth of the system. So let's say this tape deck engineers, they said, well, we will probably work with the next stage amplifier of 20 or 47K potentiometer. So let's design to have the frequency response 20 to 20 at this impedance. So as we increase the impedance, the job is easier. And those engineers never thought that it will work into the half mega impedance. So therefore, their output stage is performing much better than anticipated and much better than the standard quality of the industry. So in fact, you will simply, it's like driving your car downhill. It feels like a faster and more powerful car, even though you haven't changed the car. So that's the subjective feeling you will get. And I think that every time we tried, it really did make a difference.
You believe in the line stage of having a low preamp output impedance facing the amplifiers. Why do you think a low output impedance sounds better?
To me, it's especially important because we make these DACs that have a tube output stage, and that this output stage sometimes it has a variable volume, which we call volume control in the previous models of DACs. So we were always struggling with having impedance low enough for our DAC. And most of them were barely adequate in this department. So if people had very good amps, especially tube amps, it was not a problem. But if you had a very modern solid-state amp, sometimes they deliberately make the input impedance very low, so they can say only my preamp will drive it correctly, and any other preamp will struggle. So our DACs were struggling with that, and I don't know, maybe 2% of people reported that they have an issue there. And some people had some issue, but they didn't notice it because it still sounded fantastic. But having a very low impedance help us to be compatible with any amp without even asking which amp it is. So I don't need to worry, I can sleep well, because no matter what amp you have, no matter what crazy component you will present as a next stage, we will be able to drive it. And it will not affect the sound, because the impedance is so low that whether the next component has a high or low impedance, it will not affect the outgoing sound. So this is very important, helps us to be compatible with more people. So increase the compatibility to almost 100% of systems from whatever figure it was before.
The Poseidon line stage has an option for a moving coil phono stage module. Why not just offer a standalone phono stage?
We do offer a very, very high quality phono stage called the VP4, and it's our flagship product. It's totally amazing, and we will be presenting it this year at Warsaw show coming next week. We saw the Poseidon with the digital part removed, which we call the line stage, and we saw that there is some empty space after removal of the digital section. And I thought, why don't we put a phono section in there? Our flagship unit is just too large. In fact, it's larger and bigger than the entire Poseidon. So we couldn't squeeze it there. But bearing in mind that we already have a very good power supply in the Poseidon, we have a volume control in the Poseidon, we have inputs and outputs, we have tube rectification and all the filtering, everything is already in place. We don't need the whole product. So we just took the heart of it, the core, which is the RIAA and the preamplification phono circuit, and made the board smaller, but on the same schematics as the VP4. So you're getting exactly the same circuit, but put in a smaller form under the Poseidon, and together they are phono line stage preamplifier.
And does that phono module use a step-up transformer inside the Poseidon?
Well, to be MC, it always has to have a step-up transformer.
Well, you could use all tube gain if it was a larger box.
The transformer, which doesn't have any noise or any hum or any microphonics, allows us to add this extra amplification needed.
There are all tube, 100% tube gain phono stages, but very few, and it's definitely difficult.
Are they MC?
Yeah.
For 0.2 millivolt cartridges?
Yeah, the Aesthetics IO phono stage is 100% tube gain.
The silver transformer, which we use, is giving such phenomenal sound that I stopped yearning for that solution.
Understood. Does the moving coil phono stage in the Poseidon have any gain options or loading options? What are the details there?
Here, because of the space restrictions, we decided to strip it down to just one input and two loading options. Mm-hmm. So instead of having 20 ohms, 40 ohms, 100 ohms, and 500 ohms, we will have just low and high, being probably 20 and 100. And we just hope that with one of the two, you will get the desired result. If not, we can obviously fit a different load, but it will be always two. So the selector will be a toggle switch, toggling between the two solutions.
In the marketing material for the Poseidon, you talk about specifically using only easily available tubes. Did that self-imposed limitation cause any design circuit compromise or any ultimate sonic compromise by limiting yourself to only easily available tubes?
No, because we use the tubes that are very rarely used. So they are cheaper and more available, not because they are bad, but because simply there is less desire for them. Mm-hmm. Let's imagine that, I don't know, the whole world of tubes has probably 3,000 different models. But let's say that easily usable tubes for audio, maybe there is 20, 30 different models, but only two are very popular, the 12AU7 and 6SN7 GT. And the others are not used because either you need an adapter or they have funny parameters or you need a different pinout. So when we designed it from the start for these different tubes, we were able to create a circuit that is elegant, doesn't need adapters, but uses tubes that are less in demand. So they're even the NOS stocks are not depleted so badly. So instead of paying $200 or $500 per tube, you only end up paying 10 or 20. And I wanted to make it possible, but they are phenomenal tubes, and the range is so broad that people will just not believe it.
Anything in the R&D department in amplifier design?
We just finalized just today, about an hour ago, we started listening in our big listening room to the finished Amber amp, which is our entry-level amplifier, but is at the same time quite sophisticated and quite good. I would say that this is a radically different and better design than what we used to do before. But we want to start very slowly and carefully. So we will start from the EL84, 10 watt stereo integrated model. And also it includes a built-in DAC. Mm-hmm. Starting from this model, we will grow to go to, let's say, KT88 as a stereo amp, and then maybe a KT150 as monoblocks, and then probably from that point we will go back as before to the 211, 845, GM70, these big royal triodes that I love so much. but that will be only 2025 at best.
Are you still offering your 211 parallel single-ended triode amplifier?
No. We've suspended production of all amplifiers until the new generation comes, because the design is much more modern and much more sophisticated and bulletproof. And I love the new design and the new way of designing with AutoCAD, with PCB, four-layer PCBs, and etc. etc. This takes me from 1950s to 2023 in one leap.
Looking ahead to 2025, are you thinking that you'll have a new version of a parallel single-ended 211 or 845 type amplifier?
Oh, absolutely. We have those circuits that are perfectly sounding. We already have, and we've sold probably a few hundred pairs of these amps. The problem is that manufacturing is so labor intense that when you if you want to master it, the person behind it must become a master and must understand everything about this amplifier. It's not just merely an assembly person. So we just lost one of these people due to retirement, and we cannot replace him. And waiting 3 years to teach somebody is a longer time than I can build something that will be made by the machine and will be repeatable. And I won't need a world-class specialist to assemble it. I just need a very dedicated, good assembly person. So I cannot go back to the handmade point-to-point silver wiring construction, because it was great, but I'm not a hobbyist anymore, and we are a serious business, and we have to consider manufacturing process.
Lukasz, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm so happy I can share, because not everybody understands, and they say, like, what is this company doing? Why this new product in the same price range as before? Well, the price range is changing, the products are changing, and if we look back in 2 years, we will not recognize this offer and these products and this company. So my goal is to make it better every day, but also sometimes I have to make a leap, and this is my first real big leap, is going to the Poseidon. We've never had a leap in technology and in solutions this big.
Well, congratulations with the new components, and thanks very much for joining me today.
I hope that we will meet in California on the premiere.
I'd love that.
I'm looking forward to see you again.
We will. I'd love that.
Thank you for taking time, and goodbye, everybody.
And if you've enjoyed this interview, please like it and subscribe to the What's Best Forum YouTube channel.